Hello, my dear students. Hope you guys are all doing good and also your preparation is going on as planned and as expected. So, I'm doing a one more video here in order to take you through the MTP Series 2 paper which has been released recently. As you already are aware, I have already uploaded MTP Series 1 related explanation for this May 2023 attempt. Now, in this video, I will be taking you through the MTP Series 2. Okay, so without any delay further, let us have a deep dive understanding of this MTP Series 2. So first, as usual, we will start with case scenario based MCQs. So first case scenario, let me read out the facts here, then we will start answering the MCQs out of that case scenario. So case scenario number 1, Asta Limited, oh yeah, Asta Limited has published its audited financial statements for the year ended March 31, 2023. A shareholder of Asta Limited raised a point to the promoter of the company, questioning the authenticity of the financial statements. The management of the company conveyed the shareholder that the same have been audited by a chartered accountant as per the provisions of the Companies Act. So one of the shareholder asked the promoter of the company how far the financial statements are authentic. One of the shareholder questioned how far the financial statements are genuine. However, the management told that these financial statements are genuine because these are all audited by an independent chartered accountant as per Companies Act. Next, the same shareholder then noticed that in the last year's financial statements, there was a disclosure regarding a legal dispute with its competitor. But in the current year's financial statements, there is neither such a disclosure nor there is any update on the resolution of the dispute. In the last year's financial statements, in the notes to accounts, there was one pending case which was disclosed. But in the current year's financial statements, there was no mention regarding that legal issue. Whatever pending case that was going on, which was there in the last year's financial statements in the notes to accounts, in the current year's financial statements, there was no mention about it. However, the management did not give any convincing answer regarding lack of disclosures in the current year's financial statements. Even management did not give any convincing reply when asked about this legal dispute which was existing in the previous year. Next, the management also revealed in the meeting that there were a few fictitious vendors to whom payments worth 50 lakh rupees were made by an employee who has been suspended from the office with immediate effect, and a case to that effect has also been filed in the court of law. Nothing but during the course of during the financial year, there was one fraud happened, misappropriation of assets has happened. Cash has been misappropriated. How much amount? 50 lakh rupees of cash was misappropriated by one of the employee by making payments to the fictitious vendors, and the company, on noticing that, they have even suspended that employee also. Next, the same has also been appropriately disclosed in financial statements, and this misappropriation of assets was clearly disclosed in the financial statements. The company transferred 75 lakh rupees from the current year's profit to assert replacement reserve for making another building for the operations of the company. That means company has created one capital reserve. They have created a reserve for one specific purpose. For how much amount? 75 lakh rupees of reserves they have created. For what purpose? To replace the asset. For a specific purpose, they have created a reserve by transferring 75 lakh rupees from the current year's profit. Now, based on the above facts, answer the following. On the basis of the given facts, they are expecting us to answer a few MCQs. Let us see what are those MCQs are. The financial statements audit is a report by the auditor regarding what? So after doing financial statements audit, we will give the audit report, no? In that audit report, what we will try to mention? In that audit report, we will try to mention whether financial statements are giving true and fair view. That's what we try to mention in the audit report, no? So that is what the question they are asking. In the financial statement audit, that is after doing the financial statement audit, you will give an audit report. What is that audit report about? That audit report is about true and fair view of financial statements along with related disclosures. When I say financial statements, it includes even what? Related disclosures, nothing but notes to accounts. So whether the financial statements and related disclosures in the notes to accounts, whether they are giving true and fair view or not, that is what the audit report is all about. So let us find out the correct option here. So the financial statement audit is a report by the auditor. Option A, attesting to truth and fairness of presentation of financial statements and related disclosure. Do you agree with that? Yes, the audit report is regarding the true and fair view of financial statements and also related disclosure. Option B, attesting to the truth and fairness of presentation of only financial statements. That means will we ignore altogether notes to accounts? Are we concerned only with balance sheet, P&L? That's all. No. Why? Because financial statements means notes to accounts also. Our audit report should contain whether notes to accounts is also giving true and fair view or not. So option B is incorrect option. Option C, attesting to truth, transparency, fairness. Did we anywhere see, even we have discussed the standards also, did I tell you auditor has to report on true, fairness, presentation, transparency, all these things? No. Everywhere the ultimate objective they will say to comment on true and fair view. That's all. True, transparency, completeness, all this is not required. We need to comment on only two things, truth and fairness. So here they are including transparency. This is not required. So option C will also be wrong. Option D, attesting to truth, completeness, fairness of presentation. Did I tell you anywhere you have to comment on true and fair and completeness of presentation? No. The standards will expect us to only comment on true and fair view, that too of the financial statements and related disclosures. So what will be the correct option, guys? Option A will be the correct option. Clear? Next one. Second point. Non-disclosure of the legal dispute with the competitor of Astha Limited is what? So as we have seen in the facts, the company is having one pending case, and that pending case was disclosed in the last year, but in the current year it was not disclosed. And when asked about the management, they even did not give convincing answer. So this is a case of manipulation of accounts. This is a case of what? Manipulation of accounts. And in the manipulation of accounts also, specifically, it is intentional omission. It is one of the technique. Yes, agreed. By not showing legal dispute in the financial statements, management is trying to convey wrong picture. That is manipulation of accounts, or even you can call it as fraudulent financial reporting. But in that manipulation of accounts or fraudulent financial reporting also, the technique which has been followed is intentional omission. Intentionally you are omitting to show some item in the financial statements. So which option will be correct option? Is it misappropriation of assets? No. Is it recording fictitious journal entries? No. Is it manipulation of accounts? Yes, I will say. But more specifically, in the manipulation of accounts also, it is misrepresentation or intentional omission from the financial statements. See, in case of option D, if they would have told something else, I would have marked option C. It is manipulation of accounts, I agree. But in the manipulation of accounts also, it is specifically what? Misrepresentation or intentional omission from the financial statements. One of the technique for manipulation of accounts. So more specifically, if I have to answer, option D will be the correct option. And in fact, option C is one of the technique for committing option C only. Once again, I am repeating, in option D, if they would have told something else, I would have marked option C. But in option D is one of the technique for manipulation of accounts. So since they have specifically mentioned intentional omission and the given case is intentionally not disclosing the legal dispute, that means management intentionally omitted this from the financial statements. So I need to mark here option D. What I should mark? Option D will be the correct option. One of the technique for manipulation of accounts. Understood? Next one. Next question. Payment to fictitious vendors by the employee of Astha Limited is what? See, the one as we have seen in the facts, one of the case where one of the employee has made payments to fictitious vendors. So here it is a case of what? Misappropriation of asset. Which asset is getting misappropriated? Cash is getting misappropriated. So it is an example of what? Misappropriation of assets. So option A will be the correct option. Next one. Point number 4. The appropriation of 75 lakhs from the revenue to asset replacement reserve is a what kind of reserve? It is a creation of capital reserve. What kind of reserve it is? It is a creation of capital reserve. So option B will be the correct option. So if we cross check with our answers, so if we cross check it, yes, first one option is A, attesting to the truth and fairness of the financial statements. And if you see the second question, the correct option is option D, which is misrepresentation or intentional omission. Option third question, if you see, misappropriation of assets, and fourth question, if you observe, that is a creation of capital reserve. Understood? Now Let us have a look at the next case scenario. Quickly, we will go through it. So, as per SA 210, agreeing to the terms of audit engagements, preconditions for an audit may be defined as used by the management of an acceptable financial reporting framework in the in the preparation of financial statements, and also agreement of management and where appropriate to those charged with governance regarding the premise of this audit. So this paragraph, they are saying it from SA 210, as we have seen in the chapter nature, objective and scope of audit. So before we accept any audit, there are some preconditions. Preconditions are nothing but management responsibilities, and those responsibilities include preparation of financial statements and also selection of applicable financial reporting framework. The same paragraph has been repeated here. Next one, Mridul and Co., a firm of chartered accountants, agreed on the terms of audit engagement of a private limited company, Jayashree Private Limited. So there is a private limited company, Jayashree Private Limited. For that company, this firm Mridul and Co. has been appointed as an auditor. Jayashree Private Limited has conveyed to Mridul and Co. that they want the firm to undertake statutory audit as well as to examine the life of its plant and machinery at Indore, which is in existence for 10 years. Yes, observe, if you carefully observe here, it is a case of statutory audit, no? So in the case of statutory audit, our scope will be decided by law. Yes or no? See, if the client is asking us to do the statutory audit, it is fine. But are we required to specifically look into only life of plant and machinery? Is the act putting any requirement like this? Did the act say to the company auditor, you have to verify all the property, plant and equipment? Did they say it anywhere? No. See, being a statutory audit, our objective is to express an opinion on financial statements. That we will do it by doing sampling, by following various approaches, by performing various audit procedures. So that is all our choice. Can the management specifically ask me to verify only plant and machinery which is having 10 years of useful life? Can they put this kind of restriction? As per statutory audit, not required. As per law, it is not required. If the auditor wants, he can do it, but it is not a compulsion on him. Clear? So doing statutory audit is fine, but whatever the management is asking to specifically look into the life of plant and machinery which is in existence for 10 years, this is not acceptable. And one more thing, useful life is an accounting estimate. What is useful life, guys? Useful life is an accounting estimate. We can only check whether an accounting estimate is reasonable. We cannot check whether an accounting estimate is correct. Estimate, no. No one can compel us to check whether really the useful life is correct or not. Can we check it? No. Why? Because useful life is an accounting estimate. We can only check whether it is reasonable. We can't check whether it is correct or not. Why? Because it is an accounting estimate. If you remember, that is inherent limitation also. Clear? Next, while finalizing the scope of the audit, the auditor agrees to cover all the units of the company based at Delhi and Indore. That means company is having presence at two places and the auditor agreed to cover both the locations. Mridul & Co. has asked Jayashree Private Limited to make all the relevant disclosures in the financial statements. The auditors were vigilant to inquire about any audit evidence that contradicts with other audit evidence. That means they are remaining alert to circumstances which contradicts with the other audit evidences. Remaining alert to unusual circumstances or remaining alert to circumstances, one of such circumstances contradicting with multiple audit evidences. What do we call this? Professional skepticism. Do you guys remember? Professional skepticism contains three things: attitude of questioning mind, being alert to unusual circumstances, critical assessment of audit evidence, ABC of professional skepticism. So in that, one of the circumstance to which auditor should remain alert when there is a conflict between multiple audit evidences. So nothing but they are saying, they are telling that auditor is required to maintain professional skepticism. Next one, the auditor decided to cover the following aspects, nothing but all the principal aspects. We have seen a dedicated question number 4 in the chapter nature, objective and scope of audit. What are the principal aspects which are required to be covered in an audit? The list has been given here once again, nothing else. This list is nothing but principal aspects to be covered in the audit, which we have seen in the chapter nature, objective and scope of audit. That's it. So all the principal aspects are given. Now let us have a look at what is the question. Questions they are asking. One more fact also they are trying to say it in the question. While testing accounts receivable of Jayashree Private Limited, the auditor decided to divide the accounts receivable by aging of receivables. That means he has decided to do the aging of receivables. On what basis? Below 15 days, overdue from 15 to 30 days, 31 to 60, 61 to 90, more than 91 days. Now let us come to the questions. Based on the above facts, answer the following questions. According to you, what is the scope of audit which Mrudul and Co should cover in an audit of financial statements of Jayashree Private Limited. So here they are given few points. We need to say which one will be included in the scope, which one will not be included in the scope. First one, to examine the life of its plant and machinery at Indore, which is in existence for 10 years. Is he supposed to do it? As I have told, useful life is an accounting estimate. We auditors can't check whether accounting estimate is correct or not. Management cannot put this, cannot specifically ask us to do this. Why? Because it is what? Accounting estimate. Will this specifically form part of your scope? No. The first point will not form part of our scope. Second one, to cover all the units of the company based at Delhi and Indore. This he has agreed. No, he will cover all aspects of entity. The entity is in presence at two places, Delhi, Indore, and the auditor has to cover both these places. Yes, this will form part of the scope. Next one, to check whether relevant disclosures are properly made in the financial statements. Is he supposed to cover it? Is the auditor required to check whether the financial statements contains all the disclosure? Yes. So what will be covered in this scope out of these 3 points? Only second and third point auditor has to cover in his scope. So option is option C. Next one. Next. What is the name of the method used by the auditor for segregation of accounts receivable? See here, auditor segregated the debtors into different categories. No. On what basis he has segregated? Below 15 days, 15 to 30 days, 31 to 60 days. That means entire population has been divided into subpopulation of having similar characteristics. This process we call it as what? Stratification. So that is what the correct option here. What auditor has done, whatever total accounts receivable are there, that entire population of accounts receivable was divided into subpopulations. This process only, as per audit sampling chapter, as per SA 530, what do we call this? Stratification we call this. Stratification simply means what? Dividing the entire population into subpopulations. Next one. What aspects are required to be covered in the audit? They have given so many principal aspects. No, all the principal aspects are required to be covered. So entire list has to be covered. Whatever 11 points they have given, all those are principal aspects required to be covered in the audit. So auditor must cover all of them. So which one will be correct option? Option C. Nothing but entire points have to be covered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All the 11 points have to be covered. Next one. The auditor's vigilance. Vigilance in the sense alertness. The auditor's vigilance to question the audit evidence that contradicts with other audit evidence. This we call it as what? The auditor has to remain alert to unusual circumstances. This quality of the auditor, what do we call it? Professional skepticism we call it. So option A will be the correct option. Next one. With respect to preconditions for an audit, which one of the following is correct? So regarding, they are giving certain points regarding preconditions. We need to comment which are included in preconditions. Number 1, the use by the management of an acceptable financial reporting framework in the preparation of financial statements. So management should select an applicable financial reporting framework in the preparation of financial statements. Is it a precondition? Yes. And management is responsible for implementing internal controls. Is it a precondition? Yes. Giving auditor access to all information and access to entities premises, unrestricted access to people and premises of the entity. This is also a precondition. So what will be included in preconditions? All the 3 will be included in the preconditions. 1, 2 and 3. All the 3 will be included in preconditions. So if we have a look at the key, if we try to match the answers. So here if you observe, yeah, first one option is C. Even we have also marked the same. Then second one option is B. We have also marked the same. Third one option C, yes, we have also marked the same. Fourth one option A, that's also correct. And fifth one is option B, as you could see, that is also correct. Now let us talk about general MCQs, very simple ones. Auditors compares gross profit ratio with that of the previous year, and it is discovered that there is a fall in the ratio. This is an example of which procedure? If you are calculating gross profit ratio and doing the comparison, what we call this as analytical procedure. So option A. Cutoff testing is performed during audit of sale to address which assertion? Cutoff itself is a separate assertion. Yes or no? So cutoff itself is a separate assertion. If the question itself is containing the answer. Cutoff testing, for which assertion we are doing? For cutoff assertion we are doing. What do you mean by cutoff assertion? Whether entries belong only to the current year. None of the future years entries, none of the past years entries should be recorded in the current year. The relationship between tolerable error and sample size. What kind of relationship exists here? If the auditor is willing to tolerate more error, he will go for smaller sample size. If the auditor is willing to tolerate less error, he will go for more sample size. So what kind of relationship is existing here? Inverse relationship. Next one, the LFAR. This question is from Audit of Banks. The LFAR is to be submitted before what date? For LFAR, there is a fixed date. What is that date? Before 30th of June of every year, LFAR has to be submitted by every bank auditor. So what is the option? Option C. Next. What is included in audit evidence includes what? Audit evidence includes both information contained in accounting records, and also audit evidence contains information in other information also. So it includes both information contained in accounting records, and also it includes other information. Both information will be there in audit evidence. This question is from SA 500, audit evidence. We have discussed in a detailed manner. Next one. What are charges against the profits? The moment you see this charges against the profits, what should immediately strike your mind? Provision. Provision is a charge against the profit. So what are charges against the profits? To provide for known liabilities for which amounts cannot be measured with accuracy. What do we call it? Provisions we call it, because provisions are the charges against the profits. Next one. If the auditor concludes that there is reasonable justification to change the engagement, and if the audit work performed complied with the standards applicable to the changed engagement, the report issued would be appropriate for the revised terms of engagement only. In order to avoid confusion, the audit report would not include reference to. This question is from SA 210, and in fact we have discussed this. So which question they are asking is, so if you go to this, changes in the terms of engagement is there? No. That question, yeah, this one. See here, from this paragraph they are posing a question. What is the paragraph saying? If there is a reason, when the client is asking you for changes in the terms of engagement, we will ask reasons. No. If there is a reasonable justification, what we will do? We will agree to the changes and will perform the audit as per revised terms and conditions. But in order to avoid the confusion, the final audit report, whatever we give, it should not contain any reference to the original engagement, or it should not contain any reference to any procedures that have been performed under original engagement. Why? Because terms are revised. We have drafted new engagement letter. We are doing audit as per revised terms. So that's why in the final audit report which we give, we should not contain any reference. It should not contain any reference to original engagement, and also it should not contain any reference to any procedure that has been performed in original engagement. This paragraph they are posing it as a question. So what will be the correct option here, guys? So option will be option A. See here, the report would not include reference to original engagement also, or any procedures that may be performed in original engagement. To any of this, it should not contain reference. Next one. Public enterprises. This is from government audit chapter. Public enterprises are required to maintain commercial accounts and are generally classified under three categories. See, generally government entities also will prepare commercial accounts. For that purpose, they will incorporate three kinds of entities. For carrying out commercial activities, the government also will incorporate three entities. Like if you remember the concept from government audit, for carrying out commercial activities, government will incorporate three entities. What are they? They might incorporate departmental enterprises. They might incorporate statutory corporations. They might incorporate government companies. So by incorporating any of these three entities, government also will carry out commercial activities. Now what is the question? Which of the following is not a category? For carrying out commercial activities, I have given options. In that option, one is not a category. Which category is that? Let us find out. So will the government create public departmental enterprises? Yes. Will the government create statutory corporations? Yes, for carrying out commercial activities. Will they incorporate government companies? Yes, for the purpose of carrying out commercial activities. But charitable trust they will not create for carrying out commercial activities. First of all, charitable institution is a non-profit making entity. No. Why the government will incorporate charitable trust for carrying out commercial activities? That's why D is not the category. So first three options are actually the categories of entities incorporated by the government for carrying out commercial activities. Next one. What are needed for supporting the functioning of what? See, this question is from audit in an automated environment. In that there will be a concept regarding controls. In that we have seen that general IT controls will be required to support the functioning of application related controls. See, application controls are the controls which are functioning at specific application. If application controls has to function properly, first we need to have overall general IT controls to work properly. So that's why general IT controls are needed to support the functioning of application controls. Next one. The auditor may consider it necessary, may consider it helpful to prepare and retain as a part of audit documentation a summary, which we also call it as completion memorandum or audit documentation summary, which contains what? What does completion memorandum or audit documentation summary contain? It contains a summary of significant matters identified and how they were addressed. What will be there in completion memorandum or audit documentation memorandum? Audit documentation summary. What will be there in that document? It contains a summary of significant matters identified and also how they were addressed. So that is what here is the correct option. It will contain option B, the significant matters identified during the audit and how they were addressed. They will be there in the completion memorandum or audit documentation summary. Next one, with respect to the following, which of the following statement is correct? They have given some statements. From that we need to find out which is the correct statement. Audited financial statements are absolutely free from material misstatements. That means, can you give guarantee that financial statements will be free from material misstatements? No, we can't give guarantee. Why? Because there are inherent limitations. Even after you do the audit effectively, still there is a chance that some misstatements might not have come to your notice. So that's why we can't absolutely say that financial statements are free from material misstatements. Next one. An audit is an official investigation into alleged wrongdoing? No, an audit is not an official investigation. Official investigation is different, audit is different. Audit is not an official investigation into alleged wrongdoing. The auditor can only obtain reasonable assurance. Yes, the auditor can obtain only reasonable assurance whether the financial statements are free from material misstatements. Next, an auditor's opinion is a assurance as to the future viability of the entity, or is it a assurance as to efficiency and effectiveness of management? No. See, this is also we have seen from the nature, objective and scope of audit. Auditor's opinion is not a guarantee for future viability. It is also not a guarantee for efficiency and effectiveness. But what is the statement saying? It is a guarantee for future viability. Do you agree with that? No, in fact, it is not a guarantee for future viability. Understood? So, which statement is correct? Or statement option C will be the correct statement. Next one, Mr. A, auditor, and Mr. B, finance manager of XYZ Limited are friends. Mr. A prepares the audit report according to the wishes and directions of Mr. B. In this situation, which essential quality of the auditor has been compromised? What has been compromised? If you prepare the audit report as per the wishes and directions of other person, what is getting compromised here? Independence is getting compromised here. Clear, everybody? So these are the case scenario based MCQs and general MCQs which are given as a part of this MTP series 2. Clear, everybody, till here? Let us now have a look at true or false statements. So let us quickly go through them once now. So starting with question number 1, very simple ones only. These are all not at all complicated. Let us thoroughly go through. Number 1, first true or false statements. For an auditor, the risk assessment procedures provides sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to base the audit opinion. They are saying that if you are an auditor, if you perform risk assessment procedures, you will get all the evidence required for expression of opinion. Do you agree with that? Will you get all the evidence only by performing risk assessment procedures? No. Risk assessment procedures will only let you understand the entity and its environment. They will help you identify risk of material misstatement. So risk assessment procedures will not give complete evidence. And even compliance procedures also will not give all the audit evidence. They will let you know whether controls are working effectively or not. We will get sufficient and appropriate audit evidence required for expressing opinion by performing one and only substantive audit procedures. Risk assessment procedures alone will not give you complete audit evidence, not even compliance procedures also. So this statement is incorrect. Next one, classification of NPA should be based on availability of security and asset classification would be facility wise, not borrower wise. This is obviously wrong. Why? Because NPA classification should be done entire borrower wise, not facility wise. Take for example, there is a customer, Mr. X. He has taken 4 loans, like housing loan he has taken, vehicle loan he has taken, business loan he has taken, personal loan he has taken. Now, if he even makes a default in one loan, his entire borrower's account will be classified as NPA. That means entire X account will be classified as NPA. We will not do NPA classification each facility wise. We will not say only housing loan is NPA, remaining all 4 are performing assets only. This kind of facility wise classification will not happen. Once if a borrower makes a default, for that entire borrower will be classified as NPA. All the facilities will be classified as NPA, not each and every facility separately. So this statement is also correct. NPA classification will be done borrower wise, not facility wise. Next one, when inventory is under the custody and control of a third party, which is material to the financial statements, the auditor can obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence regarding existence and condition of that inventory by taking written representation. See, this question is from SA 501. In that, they say that when inventory is lying with the custody of third party, auditor should obtain audit evidence by asking external confirmation from the third party. But in the question, what they are saying, written representation. Written representation alone will never give you audit evidence as per SA 580. So if you literally go by SA 501, you should obtain external confirmation, not written representation. So that's why this statement is also incorrect. Next, the complexity of a business environment depends on level of automation. That is, if the business is more automated, it is likely to be less complex. False. Definitely, the complexity of business environment depends on level of automation. If the entity is more automated, if all the operations are happening within the system, they are using a robust ERP software, so all the transactions is happening within the system only, that means it is more automated. When the entity is more automated, the complexity will be very high there. It is very difficult and complex to understand. When there is less automation, so many activities are happening manually, then it is less complex. When level of automation increases, level of complexity also increases. But in the statement, what they are saying that when the entity is more automated, it is less complex. In fact, opposite is correct. When entity is more automated, it is likely to be more complex. Next one, the auditors reporting on internal financial control, section 143 subsection 3 clause I. So, the auditors reporting on internal financial control will be applicable with respect to interim financial statements audit? No. The reporting on internal financial control, that is 143 subsection 3 clause I. This reporting on internal financial controls will be applicable only for audit of annual financial statements. This reporting under 143 subsection 3 clause I will not be applicable for audit of interim financial statements audit. So, this statement is also incorrect. Next one. Statistical sampling being more scientific, since it will not have any personal bias, it will always be appropriate to use. See, half of the statement is true here. Statistical sampling is more scientific. It will also not have any bias. Agreed. But it is wrong to say it will always be appropriate. Why? Because in some circumstances, professional judgment will be more suitable. Agreed, statistical sampling is more scientific. It is unbiased. That is also agreed. But that doesn't mean statistical sampling always should be used. Sometimes, even though statistical sampling more scientific, auditor might still choose to go for non-statistical sampling. Why? Because sometimes professional judgment matters. And even SA 530, we have seen that whether auditor will go for statistical sampling or he will go for non-statistical sampling, it is completely his professional judgment. There is no rule which says that auditor should always use only statistical sampling. Clear, everybody? But in the statement, what they are saying, it is always appropriate. That means auditor should always use statistical sampling. Do you agree with that? No. In some circumstances, auditor might even choose to go for non-statistical sampling, and it will be appropriate also. Clear? Next one. So this statement is also incorrect. Next, once the audit plan has been drafted and communicated, it is obligatory on the auditor to follow the same. This question is from SA 300 and also from the chapter Audit Strategy, Planning and Program. So what is the question asking is, once the auditor drafted the audit plan, it is compulsory for him to follow strictly. That means he should not deviate at all. Do you agree with that? That means once auditor has finalized the audit plan, no matter whatever happens, should you stick to it at any cost? Not required. Why? Because in SA 300 we have seen, if it is required during the course of audit to make the audit effective, we need to make the changes to the audit plan. Audit plan is a continuous process. It is a repetitive process. It is not a discrete phase of an audit. So if you want, you can revise it. It is not an obligation. It is not mandatory to stick to that as it is. So this statement is also incorrect. Next one, materiality is not a matter of size. Do you agree with that? So do you think materiality is not just a matter of size? Yes, materiality is not just a matter of size. Sometimes even small items also will be material. So the given statement is correct here. Explanation is very important. So like if you observe, so what is this thing they are trying to say here? So here if you observe, materiality is not a matter of size. Is a given statement true here? Yes, this statement should have been true. But if you see the answer here, let us see the answer. They are telling answer as incorrect. But if we read the reason, financial statements should disclose all material items, that is the items of knowledge of which might influence the decision of users of the financial statements. So materiality is not always a matter of relative size. See, they are agreeing with the statement here. What they are saying, yes, materiality is not always a matter of size. That's what even the question also know. What is the question? Materiality is not a matter of size. Even in the answer also, if you read, they're justifying. Yes, materiality is not a matter of size. Sometimes even small items also will be considered as material. Even they're saying the explanation same, but what they're saying incorrect. In fact, they should have told correct no. Yes or no? See, when you are justifying the given question, materiality is not a matter of size. That means you are agreeing to the fact. That means the given statement is true only, no? Why you have to say it as incorrect? Clear everybody? So this is what the answer which I personally don't agree with. So like even if you see the example, for example, a small amount lost by fraudulent practices of certain employee can induce a serious flaw in the entity's internal control, requiring immediate attention to avoid greater loss in the future. So in certain cases, quantitative limits of materiality are specified. So sometimes amounts will be specified. Sometimes even small amounts also will be considered as material. So that means if you read the explanation, they are agreeing to the fact. Yes, materiality is not always matter of size. Sometimes even small items also could be material. But what is the statement they are giving? Incorrect, which I don't personally agree with. The given statement is in fact a correct statement only. The given statement is what? It is in fact a correct statement. Why? Because even if you read the explanation, they are agreeing with that explanation. What they are agreeing? Yes, materiality is not always a matter of size. It should not be always of size. Sometimes even small items also could be material. Understood? So the given statement is true here, but in the answer they have given it as incorrect, but explanation is correct. Whatever explanation they are giving, that is correct, but they should have given it as correct. Understood everybody? So please keep this thing in your mind. Understood? So with this we are done with the true or false statements also. Now let us have a look at complete descriptive questions. So question number 2, in that first one, CA Jatin is the auditor of JP Limited. The auditor expressed his opinion on the financial statements without ascertaining as to whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatements. Explain with respect to SA 200. So some person has been appointed as auditor of the company. He has expressed his opinion without even ascertaining whether financial statements are free from material misstatements. Did he comply with the objectives of SA 200? No. Now how to answer this? First write the objectives of SA 200. From nature, objective, scope of audit, from that chapter you will be able to find. Write the objectives of SA 200. What are the two objectives? The auditor is required to obtain reasonable assurance whether financial statements are free from material misstatements and whether they are prepared as per applicable financial reporting framework. Then add a conclusion that in the given case, auditor did not comply with the objectives of SA 200. Understood? Next one. In establishing overall audit strategy, the auditor should ascertain the reporting objectives of the engagement to plan the timing of the audit and also nature of the communication required. Elucidate those cases by which an auditor can ascertain the reporting objectives. So this question is from nature audit strategy planning and program. See, in that chapter also we have seen one question. What are the factors which are required to be considered before expression of opinion? Sorry, not that particular question. What are the factors to be considered before expression of overall audit strategy? Like that we have seen one question. So let me open that first. If you see it, you will get the clarity. Yeah. So if you see here, question number 1 only, not any other question. Question number 1 only, we have seen that what are the factors to be considered by an auditor in establishing audit strategy? No, but this is not the question which they are asking. If you observe, one of the factor to be considered is reporting objectives. See here, second point. One of the factor which has to be considered while establishing audit strategy is reporting objectives. Now he is asking specifically what reporting objectives you will try to find it out while establishing an audit strategy. So you are required to write this second point. You are required to write this second point from this question, not even the entire answer also. You are required to write only this second option only. So they are asking you only about the reporting objectives. So write about only the reporting objectives. Understood? Next one. Discuss the various points which needs to be considered in determining whether it is appropriate to use audit evidence about operating effectiveness of controls obtained in the previous audit. And if so, the length of the time that may have been elapsed before retesting a control. See, this question is from risk assessment and internal control. So in that also we have given one dedicated question. This will find it in module 1. So in this also, if we go to risk assessment and internal control chapter, we have added this question in our material. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah. So here it is. See, nothing but year after year, the controls will not change. Yeah, this question number 12 from this chapter, risk assessment and internal control. See, year by year, internal controls will not go drastic changes. The controls more or less will remain same year after year. So why? Because control is something which is the regular process in the company. So year by year, the internal controls will not go any rapid changes, any drastic changes they will not undergo. So that's why if you have performed in-depth test of controls in the previous year, whatever evidence you have got regarding the internal controls in the last year, the same evidence can be used in the current year's audit also. No need to test the controls once again. Whatever evidence you have got in the previous year regarding internal controls, the same evidence you can use it in the current year also. Provided you need to check certain things in determining whether you can use the evidence for the last year or not. You need to check some factors, and if you are satisfied with that, then you can successfully make use of evidence whatever you have got from the previous year only, without checking once again the internal controls. So the question is, what are those factors which you will check for the purpose of determining whether it will be appropriate for you to use the audit evidence which you have derived from last year? Clear? So what factors we will check? Very simple. If you apply the common sense, you will get it. We need to check whatever internal controls which we have checked. They will have various components of internal control. No, how far those components are relevant in the current year also. Like 5 components will be there: control environment, entities, risk assessment, etc., etc. So from when compared with the last year, in the current year, is there any change in the components of internal control? If no components of internal control have undergone any change, you can happily make use of internal evidences of the last year only. If any of the components have undergone change, then obtain evidence once again by performing test of controls. So we will check whether components of internal controls have undergone any change. And also, is there any new risk arising from the characteristics of control? When compared with the last year, in the current year, is there any new risk which has arisen? And also, overall general IT controls, have they undergone any changes? And also, the effectiveness of the controls and its application by the entity. That means when compared with the last year, in the current year, is there any change in the application of the control? If yes, how much extent of change has taken place? If more change in the implementation of control has taken place, try to obtain evidence once again. Don't use the evidence from the last year only. Similarly, is there any lack of change? Sometimes a change will be required to keep the control relevant, but that change has not been taken place in the current year. Then also you might be required to update it. And also, is there any new risk of material misstatement that has come during the year? If you come across any new risk of material misstatement, try to perform controls once again. If there are no major new risk of material misstatement in the current year, you can successfully, happily make use of the evidence which you have obtained in the last year only. So very common sense and general oriented question. Clear? So this is what you need to write. Next one, Magical Limited is a company dealing in mobile spare parts and having its showrooms in almost all the states of the country. For financial year 21-22, the company transferred its accounts from manual to computerized system. For PJ & Co, chartered accountants have specialization in the system audit and have been appointed as a system auditor. PJ & Co at the end of the audit concludes that there are certain findings or exceptions in the IT environment and IT controls of the company which need to be assessed and reported. Mention those points of consideration. What is this question about, guys? From which chapter it is? Audit in an automated environment. In that also there will be one question. It is quite common after completion of audit. You might have some findings or exceptions in the IT environment. Now all these weaknesses or exceptions, whatever you find in the IT environment, that needs to be reported. What points you will consider? Like first, if there is any normal deficiency, first determine is there any weakness in the internal control or IT system. If yes, how it is impacting your audit. And if it is a normal deficiency, report it to the management. If it is a significant deficiency, report it to those charged with governance. So we'll have a question in the audit in an automated environment chapter. How will you report the findings or exceptions in an automated environment? The same, they are giving it as a scenario and they are asking the question. Very simple. So that's why you need to have a good conceptual clarity. Question might look this lengthy, but the question which they are asking is pretty much straightforward question. Next one. Theft of entities' assets is often perpetrated by employees in relatively small and immaterial amounts. They are referring to misappropriation of assets. This topic is regarding fraud and responsibilities of auditor. Explain and also state the various ways in which misappropriation of assets can be performed. So straight question, what are the various ways for misappropriation of assets? What are they? Embezzling the receipts, making payment to fictitious vendors, or misappropriating or stealing or theft of the entity's assets, or using the entity's assets for personal purposes. So these are all the various ways by which misappropriation of assets will be conducted. So straightforward question from the fraud and responsibilities of auditor chapter. 4 points only will be there. That's what you are supposed to write here. Next one. CA Amrit, an auditor, was removed by Kritika Limited before the expiry of his term. Discuss the procedure to be taken by Kritika Limited to appoint an auditor other than retiring auditor. So you have to be very careful. This question is not about procedure for removal. Most of the students will do this mistake. Immediately they will write procedure for removal of the auditor. No. The question is they are asking what is the procedure to be undertaken by Kritika Limited to appoint an auditor other than retiring auditor, and that too even they have taken the section number also 140 subsection 4, appointing an auditor other than retiring auditor. Most of the students will do the mistake here. They will write the procedure for removal. No guys, that is not the question about. The question is about procedure for appointing an auditor other than retiring auditor. 140 subsection 4 contains detailed provision. What is that? First, a special notice will be required. Requisite number of shareholders will send a special notice to the company. Now special notice will be sent to the auditor for making a representation letter of reasonable length and choice. Now this representation letter sent by the auditor to the company will be circulated to all the shareholders. Sometimes the representation letter will not be sent to shareholders. Either it is received too late or because of company's mistake. Then what company can do? The company has to read out the contents of the representation letter before the general meeting. Sometimes auditor will try to misuse the representation letter. Now what the management can do? They can make a request to the tribunal. If the tribunal is satisfied, yes, auditor is trying to misuse the power of representation, it will pass an order that representation letter should not be circulated, and even this representation letter need not be read out before the general meeting. So this is what the procedure for appointment of auditor other than retiring auditor. So don't get confused and write about removal. Write about procedure for appointing an auditor other than retiring auditor. That special notice scenario, representation letter, all these things you are supposed to write there. Next one. The auditor's responsibility includes reporting on internal financial controls over financial reporting, which includes an understanding of IT environment of the company and relevant risk and control. Mention any 3 situations where IT will be relevant for the audit. Once again, audit in an automated environment. If you observe here, till now, from audit of automated environment, descriptive questions are also tested, true or false statements are also tested. Somewhere close to 10 marks are tested. So this chapter is gaining a lot of importance. I will tell you, very important chapter, audit in an automated environment. Very small chapter guys. Hardly some 8-9 questions will be there. Limited content, easy to remember, and 10 marks they are testing from that small chapter itself. So don't ignore this audit in an automated environment. Very easy scoring chapter. You have to put lot of time in memorizing the content from that audit in an automated environment. Don't ignore it. So this question is very straightforward question. Why IT will be relevant for the auditor? Why? Because today increased usage of technology, complex nature of business, high-tech nature of business, volume of transaction is increasing. Even SA 315 is also asking the auditor to obtain understanding of automated environment. So we have why IT will be relevant for the auditor. Question number 2 of audit in an automated environment, that answer you are supposed to write here. So once again I am telling, audit in automated environment, never ever leave that chapter. Next one. D question. Why central government permission is required when the auditors are to be removed before the expiry of the term, but the same is not needed when the auditors are changed after the expiry of the term? This is from company audit chapter. This is specifically we have discussed in the classroom. So when why central government permission is required? See, as we know, when you want to remove the auditor, we need central government permission. We have to submit a form in form number ADT2, and if the central government gives approval, then only we can remove. Whereas if you want to change the auditor after expiry of his term, then no central government approval is required. Why they are asking? Why? So as we have seen one small question in the company audit chapter, removing of an auditor before expiry of the term is a matter requiring special attention. And if no central government or no regulatory authority is involved, management might try to misuse their power. Then auditor will not be independent. So since the removal of auditor before the expiry of the term is a matter requiring attention, and also it is having effect on the auditor's independence, so that's why Companies Act has told to protect the independence of the auditor before removal of the auditor, central government permission is required. Whereas if you want to change the auditor after the expiry of his term, that is a normal matter that doesn't require any special attention. The central government permission will not be required. This you have to explain in some 3-4 lines. You will get full marks. Clear? Next one. Fourth question, 4A. The practice of appointing chartered accountants as joint auditors is quite widespread in big companies and corporations. Explain stating advantages of joint audit. Essay 299, once again from the company audit chapter. What are the advantages of joint audit? They are asking, like reduced workload, better service to the client, quick completion of the time, healthy competition, mutual expertise. So all we have seen in essay 299, advantages of joint audit, only advantages you are supposed to write. Better what you do is write the meaning of joint audit, then write the advantages. That will be better. Next one. Mayank Limited is covered under Section 135 of the Companies Act, that is CSR. What matters shall be disclosed by the company with regard to CSR activities done by the company? This is also one question which student will get confused. They will write Caro disclosure requirements. Guys, this question is not from Caro. This question is from audit of items of the financial statements. They are not asking what are auditors reporting requirements. They are asking regarding CSR expenditure, what will be management's disclosure requirements in the financial statements. This even I have specifically covered in the marathon also. In the marathon videos also, if you observe in the chapter audit of items of financial statements, specifically at the end I have mentioned these disclosures are very important. So they are not asking what are auditors reporting requirements regarding CSR. Don't get confused. They are asking what are companies' disclosure requirements regarding CSR expenditure in the financial statements. So this we have even included in the material also. Audit of items of financial statements we have done. In that audit of items of financial statements, we have included what are the disclosure requirements that are required to be given. So you are supposed to write the disclosure requirements. And even as I am telling you, in the marathon videos also I have specifically covered this. Refer the marathon videos also. There also you will be able to find it. So this is what I was referring in this chapter. Just a minute, let me take you through that. So this is very important, but this particular question is not important. Why? Because CSR expenditure is already tested in the examination. Yeah, this one. This question, guys, very important. Disclosure requirements which are required to be given by the company regarding 5 items I have given here. CSR expenditure, this is what the question in MTP. This was recently tested in the examination also, so I don't file immediate need in the current exam to be tested. So details of Binami property held, regarding this what disclosures company has to give, this also has been covered. I do expect that this point is having chance of testing. Relationship with the stock of companies, what disclosures are required, what ratios are required, and cryptocurrencies or virtual currencies, this also tested in the recent exam. So from in the recent examination, from this single question, in every attempt one point they are testing. Till now, A, B and D, these 5 points are tested, but relationship with stock of companies and ratios to be disclosed, what disclosures are required to be given, this point is not yet tested. They might have a chance of testing from this too. So these are the CSR related disclosures which company has to give, like how much amount has been spent, how much amount of expenditure is incurred, what is a shortfall, what is the previous year shortfall, what is the reason for shortfall, for what kind of CSR activities you have spent the money, and also whether there is any related party transaction when it comes to CSR expenditure, is there any provision made with respect to liability incurred on contractual obligations. So these are the disclosures required to be given by the company in the financial statements. And please, before you go for the exam, refer this question number 25 from the material and then you go for the exam. Clear? Next one. Last time also in the last marathon also when I have done, I have specifically mentioned, I have specifically included in the marathon this thing. And exactly this question was tested in the exam. As it is, this question has come for 3 marks. Those who have attended my last attempts marathon session, they would know this importance. Clear? Next one. In this year's marathon also, which was uploaded in YouTube, lot of important things I have covered. Please do check it. Please do watch it. That will definitely help you out. Now let us have a look at the next question. Next, CA Mehta is a statutory auditor of ABC Limited. While performing testing of additions during the year, he wanted to verify that all PPE are in the name of the entity he is auditing. For all additions to land and building in particular, the auditor desires to have concrete evidence about the ownership. The auditor wants to verify whether the entity has a valid legal ownership rights over the PPE. Advise the auditor on the audit procedure to be undertaken by him to establish rights and obligations of the entity or PPE. Audit of items of financial statements. In that also, they are asking you how to verify PPE. For the PPE also, not all the assertions. They are asking you how you will verify rights and obligations of the PPE. That rights and obligations paragraph from the PPE related question only you are supposed to mention here. Next one. You are an auditor of Jagat Limited, which has spent 15 lakhs on research activities of the product during the period under audit. Board of directors want to recognize it as an internally generated intangible asset. Advise and discuss the conditions necessary to be fulfilled to recognize the intangible assets in the financial statements. Once again, from audit of items of financial statements. And if you ask me specifically, this is question from AS 26. In the AS 26, they will give you conditions which are required to be fulfilled for recognizing intangible asset. That conditions they are asking you to write here. More of an accounting question than the question from the auditing. Next one. Fifth question. The newly appointed auditor of Parag Limited wants to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence about whether opening balances contain a misstatement that materially affect the current period's financial statements. What audit procedure should he perform? Question from SA 510. In that also specifically they are asking audit procedures which you are supposed to perform regarding opening balances. Very much repeated question in the examination. So refer SA 510, audit procedures paragraph will be there that you are supposed to write here. Next one. The auditor's report shall include a section with the heading Responsibilities of Management for the Financial Statements. SA 200 explains the premise relating to the responsibilities of management and where appropriate those charged with governance explain. They are once again asking you responsibilities of management paragraph in the financial statements, and or alternatively you can even write what are preconditions for an audit. The other name for management responsibility is preconditions, and if you remember in one of the case scenario MCQs we have already covered it. Like they are responsible for preparation of financial statements, they are responsible for implementing internal controls, providing unrestricted access to information to the auditor, providing extra explanation and additional information to the auditor, and even providing unrestricted access to the people within the organization. So from nature, objective and scope of audit, you have that preconditions to audit or management responsibilities. Even in one of the case scenario questions also we have covered the same thing you are supposed to write. Next, as an auditor, explain the areas of consideration while conducting audit of room sales during the audit of 5-star hotel. This is from audit of various entities. From that also how to conduct audit of a hotel. In that audit of hotel also not the entire answer. They are asking you how to conduct audit of receipts. That too particularly how do you verify the receipts from sale of rooms in a hotel. So audit of various entities you can refer straightforward, or some own points you can write it here, like checking the guest register, proper internal controls. It should make sure that the guests are paying the money before they vacate the hotel. So these are some points which you need to write here. Next one, discuss the powers of C&AG. This question is from government audit. Straightforward question. What are the powers of C&AG? Like he will have inspect to verify. He'll have the power to inspect any account under the control of the government. He can ask extra information also. And also he will compile the accounts and submit them. So like that there are few powers. The powers of the C&AG you are supposed to write here from the government audit chapter. Next one, sixth question, last question. Explain the approach that you would follow to check the operating expenses of the bank. Audit of expenses of a bank, and that too only operating expenses. Regarding operating expenses, three things we need to check. Wherever suitable we need to check internal controls, wherever suitable we need to check supporting documents like invoices or bills, and wherever relationship exists we need to perform analytical procedures. These three are the only things which we need to do regarding operating expenses. That only you are supposed to write. Next question is also from bank audit only. In a bank, all accounts should be kept within the drawing power and also sanction limit. The accounts which exceeds the sanction limit or the drawing power should be brought to the notice of the management regularly. Analyze the following points to be considered in the computation of drawing power. So this question is regarding how to conduct audit of drawing power. What are the bank's duties? What are the auditor's duties? How to do the computation of the drawing power, and also requirement of stock audit. Like bank has to keep all the accounts within the drawing power and sanction limit, and the drawing power has to be calculated as per the recent stock statements. It should be as per board's regulation. As an auditor, you need to check what documents are submitted for determining drawing power. You need to check quarterly statements, and also you need to match them with annual reports, audited annual reports. And when it comes to stock audit, whenever funded exposure is more than 5 crores, stock audit will be required. In other cases also, if the auditor feels like necessary, even though the funded exposure is less than 5 crores, if the auditor feels it necessary to have the stock audit, he should ask the management to go into the stock audit. So like this, we have one dedicated question regarding drawing power that we need to refer here. Next, as an auditor of NGO, how do you verify at least 4 receipts of income during the year. Audit of receipts of NGO, like there will be donation income, there will be subscription income, there will be government grants also, investment income also will be there. So like this, write a few random points, and even membership fees also will be there. Next, D question. Central government holds 55% of the paid up share capital in Kisan Cooperative Credit Society, which is incurring huge losses. Advise when the central government can direct special audit under section 77. So this question is from Audit of Cooperative Societies, that to special audit under section 77. You are not supposed to write the entire answer. You are only supposed to write under what circumstances central government can order for special audit. First part of the answer, like 3 circumstances: when the society's activities are not being managed according to cooperative principles, or the society is being managed in such a way that it is bringing damage to the entire industry, or the financial position of the society is very bad that its financial position is in danger. And also not just that, the government, the central government or state government or a combination, they should have not less than 51% of the paid up share capital in that cooperative society. So just you are supposed to write these circumstances when the central government can order for special audit, not the entire answer. And then finally, what is meant by sufficiency of audit evidence, and explain the factors affecting auditor's judgment as to sufficiency of audit evidence. So they are asking what is the meaning of sufficiency. As we know, sufficiency means quantity of audit evidence. And once again, they are asking what are the factors which affects the sufficiency of audit evidence. It depends on risk of material misstatement. It depends on quality of evidence. It depends on materiality. It depends on size of the population. It depends on characteristics of the population. So all these factors which affects the sufficiency of audit evidence, you are supposed to write here. Understood? So this is what the simple MTP, guys, MTP series 2. Hope you found this video informative. If you do find it informative, please do subscribe to our channel, share it with your friends. And also, as you are aware, in our channel there are plenty of resources which will help you for the coming exams. That could be marathons, that could be charts, that could be explanation of the key concepts. So like that, so many resources are there at our channel. So please do share it with others, and don't forget to like and share this video. All the very best for your examination, guys. Thank you so much for your patience listening.